Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Kalen DeBoer, Alabama, continue to roll on the recruiting trail, landing four-star tight end Kaleb Edwards from the state of California. And if I were to get 30 seconds of your guys' time in terms of selling you on Kaleb Edwards, it probably would go like this, right? 6'6", 240 pounds, that prototypical frame and size for an inline tight end, an 82-inch wingspan, the catch radius for Kaleb Edwards when he's working the middle of the field, it's next level. Clocked in a 19 mile per hour on the GPS, off-season workouts. This kid can absolutely cook for someone 6'6", 240 pounds. The production at the high school level, it's big time. 71 catches for over 1,400 yards and 14 touchdowns over the last two seasons. And finally, on the basketball court, averages almost a double-double. I mean, you look at the athletic profile of Kaleb Edwards and say, there's not many boxes that you want from an inline tight end that Kaleb Edwards does not check. And you're getting a guy that can be a hammer in the run game, but also give you some of that juice as a pass catcher. And you look at guys like Amari Neblack last year for Alabama, it was a really, really good pass catcher. Didn't give you a ton of production as an inline blocker. You look at Kaleb Edwards, he can be a guy that gives you a ton of pass catching juice, but also can get it done as an inline blocker, has a lot of experience as that inline tight end at the high school level. Big fan of this kid, really excited to get into the film. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys, to the Alabama fans. The last couple of weeks, it's been a blast for me breaking all these commitments down. The amount of support you guys continue to show truly does mean a lot. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into Kaleb Edwards. And again, I think what I love most about Kaleb Edwards is this is a true inline tight end. He plays it at the high school level. One of, I wouldn't say frustrating, but one of the things that I think we all realize talking about these tight end prospects coming from the high school ranks is they're just big-bodied wide receivers at the high school level. There is very little experience for a lot of these tight end prospects in the run blocking department, lining up in line. You'll look at Kaleb Edwards. That is where he primarily plays at the high school level. One of the biggest prohibitors of tight ends getting on the field early during their playing time, or playing career, I should say, is they can't get it done along the line of scrimmage. From a physicality standpoint, you look at Kaleb Edwards, 6'6", 240, a ton of experience as an inline blocker. This is a guy that I think can get on the field early for Alabama because he can hold up along the lines of scrimmage. And you start getting into Kaleb Edwards as a pass catcher, I really do think it starts with the basketball background and just the catch radius that he has. And if you're talking about tight ends and kind of what you're looking for from a tight end going to the collegiate level, you want a guy that can operate over the middle of the field, specifically in traffic, being able to take on contact, and a guy that gives your quarterback a big-time catch radius. I think the best tight ends at the collegiate level can often be kind of that safety blanket, right? 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 7, you need a tight end, a big body to kind of create a throwing window. Kaleb Edwards is that guy because the catch radius is just so big for him. And you see him have that kind of production on the high school field. You could dive into the film. I think it really does just start with there's not many boxes that aren't checked. I mean, you see him play all over for this offense, whether he's split out wide, whether he's an H-back, whether he's an inline tight end. This is a guy that checks a lot of boxes. And I think the first rep you're going to see, it's not necessarily the flashiest rep from Kaleb Edwards, but he's that guy that is going to give your quarterback a big time throwing window, and he's going to be able to come up with the football in traffic. That's something that is so important for a lot of tight ends. If you can't catch in traffic at the collegiate level, you're just simply not going to play. He's a guy that can definitely get down to the deeper third, operate after the catch. This is a guy that he's not necessarily a blazer, although the 19 miles per hour on the GPS is pretty nice, but he's just a bear for defensive backs to bring down in space. And again, seeing him split out wide here, you can get him involved in all sorts of ways. He is a good enough pass catcher, a fluid enough mover to operate as kind of that jumbo wide receiver. You see the ball tracking ability. I think that has a lot to do with his basketball background. And when that football is in the air, Kaleb Edwards is very, very comfortable going up and making plays, getting him some inline reps too. Again, this is just what you want from your tight ends, being that big catch radius that can line up in line, create some separation, let your quarterback attack different levels of the field, and you just see kind of that catch radius and then him after the catch. He's an extremely hard body for a lot of opposing defensive backs to bring down. This time you get him kind of matched up. And when a tight end has the ability to line up in line, I think you get a lot better matchups, right? When you're splitting your tight ends out wide because they can't line up in line, they're not physical enough to play along the line of scrimmage. You normally get them on some nickel corners or some safeties, and it's not necessarily the ideal matchups. When you can align your tight ends on the line of scrimmage, you normally can get them onto some linebackers. Right here, that's what you get. This linebacker doesn't stand a chance at dealing with Kaleb Edwards in man coverage and going up, making a play, bouncing off contact. He's a guy that just checks so many boxes in terms of what you want your tight ends to be able to do at the collegiate level. Really, really good after the catch. A guy that can certainly get it done in the red zone here. I think they're going to just double team him here, right? Two linebackers. We're going to try to jam Kaleb Edwards. We're going to try to double team him. It doesn't work, right? You see two guys just trying to stuff him at the line. He works through the contact, is that big catch radius where, again, he doesn't necessarily need to be open for you to get him the football in the red zone. And that's absolutely massive because you look at what makes operating in the red zone so hard is the throwing windows kind of get scrunched down. When you have a 6'6", 240-pound tight end with a massive frame that can go up and make plays, it gets a lot easier to operate in the red zone. Quarterback just throws it up. Kaleb Edwards climbing the ladder, going up, making a play. I think this is a very, very good pickup for Alabama and a guy that I'm really excited to see how he gets involved in this Kalen DeBoer offense because there are so many different ways you can use him. A lot of tight ends are awfully one-dimensional. Tracking the football, extremely good. A lot of tight ends are one-dimensional. Kaleb Edwards is not. He's a guy that you can throw around all over your offensive formations. You can play him as an H-back. You can play him as an inline, put him out to the boundary, and you can just kind of get creative in terms of the matchups that you're trying to get with Kaleb Edwards. You look at Alabama in the 2025 class, and I think what's most exciting is, one, Keelan Russell is going to finish as a five-star quarterback. I think we've all kind of established that, but I think more importantly, where Alabama is trending. Right, Caleb Cunningham, five-star wide receiver from the state of Mississippi. Sounds like he might end up at Alabama. You look at one of the top running backs in the country, in Kalen DeBoer. He sounds like he might line up or end up at Alabama. You look at the number 2 offensive tackle in the country, Ty Haywood. Sounds like he's trending to Alabama, although right now Alabama does not have a 5-star committed. According to 24/7 Sports, guys like Dejoun Lee, they're 5 stars. There's a very good chance that Alabama ends up with maybe 4 or 5 5-stars at the end of this process, right? If you have Caleb Cunningham and Ty Haywood commit to Alabama, Keelan Russell gets bumped up to a 5-star. Dejoun Lee gets bumped up to a 5-star. I mean, that's 4 or 5 guys that could be 5 stars at the end of the process for Alabama. We've said it. I'll say it again. It is incredibly impressive in terms of what Alabama has been able to do on the recruiting trail. For Alabama fans, we all know Kalen DeBoer can coach. Now that he's showing that he can get it done on the recruiting trail, this Alabama program certainly is not going anywhere. Post Nick Saban, we'll cut it there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it again. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.